Hey guys, Alchemist here. I hope you all had an incredible week. This video is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be jumping on the charts. We're going to be going through this funding questionnaire. Now, the reason I'm doing this with you today is I've just actually purchased a FTMO challenge account, which I am going to be doing over the next month. And I'm going to be sharing that with you guys. So I'm going to be linking it up to my FX book, showing all the trades that I'm taking live, just to prove to you that this system does work and you can use it to get funded. But before we progress to that step, we need to be answering these questions for ourselves individually. So the first question we have here is, when should I be going for funding? Now, if you're still learning to trade, the answer is definitely not yet. What I suggest everyone to do is at least go through a course, whether it be my course, whether it be another course, just go through a course and learn a system. After you've learned that system, I want you to do at least 4 weeks on a demo account. Okay, just get used to actually executing on MetaTrader 4 or 5 or CTrader or whichever platform you're going to be able to use. Get used to actually using the sell limits and buy limits. And if you're going to use a Trade Assistant or a Magic Keys or something like that, use those 4 weeks to first know how to execute on the actual software and actually get a bit more confidence in your strategy live rather than just doing backtesting. After you've completed those 4 weeks and hopefully you become positive, whether it's 1% or whatever it might be, just as long as it's not a losing month, right? If it is, just keep doing it until you're actually at least profitable then. After that point, I do suggest everyone to start a small personal account. Now, small is relative. To some people that might be $200, to some other people it could be $5,000. Whatever it is, that taking a loss is actually going to hurt, because I need you to know what it feels like to actually lose in the market and not just have it as a demo account, which you can be like, oh yeah, that's fine, and just click buy again after you've taken a loss. So after 4 weeks on a demo, at least another 4 to 6 weeks on a small personal account. Cool. Do that successfully. Then after that point, what I suggest people to do is 2 consecutive free FTMO trials. Okay, you get 14 days, I believe, which is half of what the actual challenge is. So the reason why you want to do 2 is to see if you did have the exact same rules as the challenge, that you could actually complete 10% in a whole month rather than just that 5% in a fortnight. So until now, you do have a small amount of money in the personal, but you've done a demo, then you've done FTMO demos, right? Or my Forex funds, or whichever ones you decide to use. So after that, 2 times consecutive funded demo trials. All right. This is also going to be good for your psychology, seeing large numbers, because the personal account probably isn't going to have 6 figures in it straight away. I'd suggest you don't do that straight away. And then with the FTMO demo or My Forex Funds or whichever demo you decide to do, it's probably going to be a little bit larger capital. So you want to make sure that you'll get used to seeing those big drawdowns and those big profits as well. After you've been able to complete 2 consecutive demo accounts, then we go for funding. Okay, we're not just going to learn a system for 2 to 4 weeks. A lot of people just join the course for a month, think they've got it all understood, and then go off and do funded challenges straight away and lose. That's why these companies have so much money. We want to create it in a way like this so that we slowly progress through the steps and build up our confidence along the way. Okay, so just to recap, understand a system, my course, anyone else's course, whatever it might be, but learn a strategy. 4 weeks on a demo account, get used to execution. 4 to 6 weeks on a small personal account, whatever that relatively means to you. Then 2 times trials, right? You're not spending any money on that. Then you do your actual challenge account. Now, which funding company should you use? It's going to be pretty subjective. The ones I'm going to advise are the ones that I've seen personally my friends receive payouts from. So they're going to be FTMO, My Forex Funds, E8, and the Funded Trader. Okay. Now, do your own research on this. This is not me. I'm not affiliated with any of these people at the moment. And I want you to understand the different characteristics between them. So yes, My Forex Funds, you have a slightly smaller profit target and you have a higher drawdown limit, but be careful, because that is actually based on equity and not on account balance, meaning your running profits will also influence that drawdown limit. So just be sure you're aware of everything what you're getting into so that you don't violate any of those rules. But those 4 are the ones that I've personally seen people receive payouts from. I know there's so many. There's new firms popping up every single week now. Do your research, make sure it's not a scam like Funding Talent or any of those ones in the past, and choose the one which is most suited to yourself and to your personality and your trading style. Now, the next question is going to be what pair, instrument, or asset am I going to trade? With this, I recommend no more than 3. Personally, I only trade AUD USD, and 95% of the community only trade AUD USD. Some people are still monitoring EU and a couple on GU, but majority is just AU. And it allows us to really have our focus on one pair, know exactly its characteristics and how it sweeps liquidity, how it reacts from certain zones. There are going to be specific little things which vary between pair to pair. The strategy should work amongst all USD crosses and all majors in the same sort of way, but there are just going to be those little nuances, and especially because we're entering on the 1 minute with such small stop losses, those characteristics become quite important. So my honest advice is to master 1, maybe 2 if you really wanted to, maximum 3, but no more than that. I actually just had a webinar with the crew last week, the couple that made it to the Q&A session, and I was showing them that in the past they used to mark up 16 different pairs, right? And that would set my mind crazy. And now only focusing on AU, I can tell you exactly where it is. I can tell you, I know what every 4-hour candle that's closed looks like. I know exactly where we're situated. And with my risk management as well, because I have a max drawdown per day, I don't want to be risking that on a couple of entries on AU, a couple on EU, and 1 on GU or whatever it might be. I want to make sure that I know where I'm entering on just 1 pair and have more opportunities to enter if I get swept. Personally, that's how I do it. This is not me telling you what to do. This is me offering my advice, having 6 years in the market. And what session or sessions will I trade? Right, so again, personally, I recommend max 2. So whether that be Asia and London, or London and New York, or Asia or New York and Asia, whichever suits your time frame the best. Personally, I'm only going to be trading Asia for this. London Open in Sydney at the moment is 7 p.m. I get up between 4:30 and 5 a.m. every day and start work from about 7:30, 8. So I don't want to be working from 8 till 9 p.m., 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. So personally, I'm only trading Asia, but I am of course still doing the outlooks for London for the communities there as well. But just identify the sessions that you want to trade and what pairs so that you can actually use that 5% drawdown, daily drawdown limit for FTMO or 6% for my Forex funds to actually identify how much you should be risking per trade. I did do a good Instagram reel about this on my Instagram. So if you haven't yet seen that, please go ahead and have a look on my Instagram. You'll want to be following me there as well, because I'm going to be starting a vlog from tonight, and I'll make a little highlight on my Instagram as well, where I'm going to be doing a recap of every day of this FTMO challenge, how it's made me feel, the trades I've taken, losses, wins, everything like that. So it's all going to be out in the open. I'm doing this for accountability for myself and for transparency for you guys if you do want to join the community, right? So work out what sessions you want to trade. And now this is probably the most important, right? Do you have a clear and mechanical strategy with strict rules of engagement? The rules of engagement are: where are you entering? Where are you exiting? What do you need to see occur in the market before you press buy or sell? And you want to have this clearly laid out, whether it be a flow chart, whether it be a checklist, whatever it is for you. If you've got other communities that teach you a different way, that's fine. Just know exactly, if this, then I will do this. Because when you get into a challenge phase, your psychology is going to play massive games on you. You could be a perfect trader, you enter an FTMO challenge and it all goes out the window and you do everything against your trading strategy, right? I've seen it in the past. I've done it in the past. I haven't done a challenge using my strategy before. I have when I was doing retail and I did not pass those ones. Again, full transparency, but I've never done a challenge using my strategy now. I've never felt the need to. I've been doing this for 6 years and growing my personal account. The whole idea, what people talk about using funding for, is to grow your own personal. If you've already got that, why do you need to do the funding, right? There's a whole argument we can have there. But a lot of people today, unfortunately, if you're not funded, you're not a real trader. So this is just me showing you I'm a real trader and that this strategy works. So this is literally the only reason I'm doing this funding challenge. So again, do you have a clear mechanical strategy? If no, don't go for a funding challenge. Get that sorted first, okay? You want to know exactly, if this occurs, then this is what I'm going to do, because that's going to take the emotional side out of things so that you can execute flawlessly. You can't think rationally from an emotional mind, and you can't think emotionally from a rational mind. So if we train our mind to be rational and we use flowchart system or checklist or whatever for our entries, emotions have no space in that. And that's what our goal and what our target should be, to remove all emotion from trading and to just execute like a robot. So if you don't have one of these, get this first. Now, what return should I target each week? This one's really simple, right? We just reverse engineer it. So with FTMO, for example, they tell you 10% per month. If we break that down, on average, every month has 4 weeks, a little bit over. So if we say 4 weeks, then we need 2.5% per week to hit 10%. Now, depending on what percent per trade you're going to be using, so personally, I'm going to be using 0.5%. That means I need to make 5R per week to hit 2.5%. Do that for 4 consecutive weeks, and we hit 10%. So personally, I'm going to be targeting 5R a week at 0.5%. That's going to do something else. I won't use the at symbol because it's a shortcut. Oh, here we go. At 0.5% per trade. Spelt correctly. So there we go. That's what I'm going to be targeting. 5R at 0.5%. So 2.5% a week. So 10% a month. Pretty simple. Really simple maths. Now, what should I do to assist myself psychologically to complete this challenge? I'm creating the self-mastery course on everything relating to this, but just a brief rundown here. You need to have, just like we have a clear and mechanical strategy with our rules of engagement, we need to have our life structured too. We can't be being swayed by our emotions. So we need to be strict in everything that we do. And we need to form daily habits, which will actually align with us becoming the trader that we want to be, or even just the individual we want to be. So your daily habits must align with your outcomes, with your desired outcomes. Okay. So personally, that's exercise, good nutrition, journaling, all that kind of stuff. Heaps more that I do. I've got 18 different daily habits at the moment that I'm tracking. Whatever those are for you, think of a few, 3 to 5 at least, that you're going to be doing day in and day out, and have the discipline to stick to that no matter what. Now, what should I do differently in phase 2 to phase 1? I hope you guys know the answer to this. The answer is nothing, right? I've seen so many people pass phase 1, and phase 2, which is supposed to be so much easier, that's when they fail. When you've got double the time and half the actual profit target, that's when everything goes out the window and people fail their challenge. I'm not knocking that. It might still happen to me, right? All I'm saying is we shouldn't be doing anything different. If anything, we should just narrow down to a higher probability trade. So personally, with the flowcharts, what I've done is I've given each trade a starring system. So how many stars out of 5? And potentially what we could do is, after passing phase 1, in phase 2, because you have a lot longer and a smaller profit target, we could be just focusing on those really high probability trades, potentially, right? Whatever it is for you, but don't go changing your system. Don't start using the seconds if you've never used the seconds. Don't start adding in something new for your strategy that you've seen on YouTube that you've never used before. That's not the place to be making any changes. We want to be minimizing the variables as much as we can. Now, once funded, what should I do? Again, this is going to be very subjective. Personally, how I'll set up my accounts is, again, I've got 6 years worth of financial planning that I've done. And I haven't been an advisor myself for that whole time, but I've been working in the financial planning industry. And you want to be setting up your bank accounts in a certain way. You should be taking profits from, not should, you can. This is not personal advice. You can be taking profits from those funded accounts, putting some back into a personal, putting some into an account which you could potentially be using to dollar cost average across index funds or shares or whatever it might be, or ETFs, right? There's so many things that you can be doing. Don't limit yourself to saying, I just want to be a funded trader, because I've seen it in the past. People that have that as their goal, once you achieve that funding, right, then you're like, what now? So it can't just be, I want to be a funded trader, because that's the easiest way to lose your funding once you get it, because then you've already accomplished everything that you've set yourself out to do. So you need to have goals larger than just being a funded trader, whatever it is to you, but it's going to be some subjective goals using sound financial literacy. I'm just going to leave it at that. Don't want to get done by ASIC. I'm not giving any personal advice here. This is just generally what you can possibly do with some of your profits. And now, how should I then scale and grow my accounts? So again, like I just mentioned, when you are taking those withdrawals from FTMO, whichever funded company you go with, whichever prop firm you go with, you can be using that to grow your own personal, right? You can also, after a couple of months of being successful on that actual challenge, go for another challenge, right? And then you could potentially link your accounts, or you can leave them delinked. But there's no limit as to how many you can have, and then you can use software like Social Trader Tools to link them all up. You can go across different firms. So you can have a couple at MFF, you can have a couple at FTMO, you can have MentFX, which I think they give you a max of like 2 million, right? So again, this is why I believe Forex trading is the most scalable income that you could ever make, because there's literally no limit on how much you can earn, because you can just take on more capital so long as you're able to execute and you have a proven track record. So how can you scale them? You can use it to grow your personal. You can take on additional challenges. And then, of course, each one of these prop firms have their own unique scaling plan as well. So as you continue to make money month over month, they continue to give you more capital to trade as well. Beautiful. Next question that I've got here for myself and for you all to consider as well is, should you withdraw the maximum balance each payout? This is going to come down to how much of this money you need for your living expenses and everything else. The reason why you could potentially not is to just increase that buffer. Because if you've got more in there, depending on which prop firm you use, you actually increase the amount that you can dip into drawdown from the original balance. So for example, if you've got a $100,000 account and you make 20% and you've got 120, if you withdraw 10% and you've still got 110 in there, you should be able to lose more than just that 10%, because it should be of the starting balance. Just check with which firm that you're going to be going with, whether that's accurate to that, because then you could be allowing yourself a little bit more breathing room so that you're not as stressed when you're executing your trades. Okay. Now, should I stop trading once I reach a specific profit target? So this is something I've considered in the past. And again, this is not financial advice. This is just what I personally am thinking of doing. Is the challenge that I've just taken is for 130,000 AUD. What I'll be doing is, after that's successful for a couple of months, I'm going to be taking an additional challenge. At the beginning of each month, I am going to be linking the two accounts using social trader tools so that each trade I execute will execute on the two individually. I'm not going to be joining them together. The reason is, once I then grow to 10% in that month, one of those accounts, which should be now up 13,000 AUD, that one I stop trading. So I've locked away those profits for that month. And then I've got the other account that I can still trade that account individually. At that point, I would delink it from social trader tools so that I can continue to grow the other account while knowing that I have at least locked away 10% on my first account, which is that 13,000. So worst case scenario, that's what I make if I lose everything on the other one. Best case scenario, I can continue to grow the other one and then scale my income that way as well. So potentially, that's not spelled correctly. Potentially trade the accounts individually. Beautiful. Now, last question here is, what should I do with my trading profits? So again, this is very subjective, right? But again, what I would suggest that you do, what I advise you do, is think of multiple different things that you can be doing with that income. Don't be just spending it all on designer shit, buying Gucci bags and Dior t-shirts and bum bags. If you're from Sydney, that's what everyone wears here at the moment. But have money that you lock away for certain things. Again, I personally would suggest what I'm going to be doing is using that to grow my personal even more, and then potentially taking on additional challenges to grow those accounts even larger, and then use the individual account strategy so that I can lock in 10% of now a larger amount of capital and continue to trade the other one. But you can have something set up in a way where X amount of profits each month go into this account for this purpose, X amount goes to here to cover your living expenses, and so on and so forth. Again, this is something which is going to be covered off in depth in the financial fundamentals course. For all you foundation members, you are going to be receiving that for free as well. For all of you that didn't get in, then you will be having to pay an additional cost. If you're interested, I'm going to be breaking that down a lot more in depth. Again, it is only going to be general advice. I will give you the options that you can do. I cannot tailor that to your specific needs and circumstances, because that would be then bridging on personal advice, and I would have to provide you with a statement of advice, which is not what I want to be doing. So there is going to be general advice given in that session there to sort of show you how you could potentially be setting up your accounts to be more effective and efficient in how you manage those funds. So lastly, what I'm personally about to do now, I've just connected my printer, is to draft a contract with all the above, list out what your maximum drawdown per day is, list out what sessions you're going to trade and what pair or pairs you're going to trade, list out all these requirements for yourself, whether it is you're going to stick to doing a daily walk before your session open to clear your mind, or meditation or breathing exercises, whatever it is that you want to do. And then literally print that off as a binding contract with yourself and sign it for some accountability. So have that up at your trading station, wherever that might be, so that each time you come to the charts, you just look at that and know why you're doing what you're doing, and to make sure that you don't stray from the rules that you've given yourself. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I'm really, really excited to be doing this challenge and sharing it all with you. It is a little bit scary, right? The fact that it's going to be so out in the open just means that I have more eyes watching me, so it's keeping me more accountable, making sure that I only take those valid setups, and so that I can justify the reason behind every trade that I took and show you that the flowchart said that it was valid, and that if you follow this system, that you can do it too. You can get funded and go on and achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please let me know below if you'd like to see more of this, or if you're only interested in trade recaps, and that's fine. I will still do those every now and then. It's not going to be every week anymore, but let me know your thoughts, and I hope you have an incredible week ahead. I look forward to speaking to you next weekend. Thanks, guys.